Hello, I'm Mary V. Today, let's talk about a few solutions to common problems on the left-hand side. So let's start by talking about shoulder pain. And really it's caused by squeezing when you are holding the violin between your head and your shoulder. And it causes a squeeze. So one of the best ways to learn how to counteract that is to put your violin on your shoulder, and whether you use a shoulder rest or not, this applies to everyone really. Put your violin on your shoulder but move your head away, right? And so you can feel your violin should be touching your neck, right? Right there, it should be touching. So put your violin in the right place, but don't put your head down. And keep moving your head around and around. And get used to the feeling of your violin sort of sitting there, right? Without being held, without the shoulder coming up. And you need to do that a few times to teach your shoulder to stay where it is and not to do this rise, okay? Now, the key to it is that the squeeze is caused between the chin and the shoulder, right? And without the head and the chin, the shoulder may rise, but it can't cause the squeeze. So it learns to stay down. So that's something that needs to be repeated over and over without the head. And then when you're ready, when you feel the shoulder hasn't risen and it's stayed down in its place, then you can just move the head across to the chin rest and put it down very, very lightly. And feel the distribution between the head and the hands, because that's how you hold a violin, with shared distribution between the left and the head. Have a look at your shoulder rest, adjust it so that it's not sitting too far on the curve at the end of the shoulder here, because that will cause you a lot of pain. But more inside here in the hollow, right? So try to get your shoulder rest sort of sitting well inside the outside of your shoulder, okay? And the violin touching your neck. You need to play around with shoulder rests an awful lot. That's the position that I've ended up with. I've bent it, I've moved the outside up a lot, because I like a high angle from a violin facing like that instead of very flat. Okay, so that suits me brilliantly. You know, most of us have got different head positions when we play. I've got one that's like that, and I've got another one that's like that. And it's great because it loosens off the possibility of this grip that we have between our shoulder and our head. Now let's go to the arm. A lot of us do get a sore arm when we play, and we're doing this a lot. We're squeezing and our arm is coming round a lot. But one thing that you can do if your arm is constantly sore when you play is to bring your violin further round to the front, right? So that the angle that you have to turn your arm is less acute, all right? So if we're constantly doing this and turning it in an extreme way, right, out to the side, it may be that our violin is too far out to the side and we can bring it in. And then all the angles are less painful, really. I mean, it does take quite a lot of getting used to turning your hand like that. But if you're like this, and you have to turn your hand an extreme amount, then all you need to do is just move your violin at more of an angle. So if you move your violin just further in, you do have to adjust your shoulder rest again. So that's another bit of the puzzle that you can work out for yourself and make it more comfortable. So the next thing is, let's have a look at the wrist, and the wrist getting sore. And it's usually connected with trying to reach for the fourth finger. And a lot of people try to reach the fourth finger by doing this with their wrist, and that causes pain in the wrist, and it makes the fourth finger very rigid. So that's two problems in one. But the way around it is, rather than stretch with a rigid fourth finger that makes it very difficult to play, is slightly allow the wrist to come in slightly and for that knuckle to come up a little bit. And then you'll see that even my short fourth finger is able to be curved. Right? Then the other thing to do is to practice the fourth finger right next to the third finger so that the third finger supports it. So that you can practice your fourth finger action very easily, right? Just get it moving, right? You don't have to play anything. Just get it moving like that. With your wrist well away from this position. It's not advisable to have your wrist in that position. And just slightly bring it in a little bit. And practice your fourth finger. Waggle it up and down right next to the third, and you'll see that you can develop a much stronger fourth finger action with all that support, right? So let's have a look at the thumb. Some people find that they can't help squeezing between the thumb and the first finger. During your music, you need to write in it a great big T for thumb and tap, and teach it to stop squeezing. That's the only way to really stop this massive squeeze, is to actually be aware of it and teach yourself to stop it by tapping your thumb. So apart from the squeezing, the other thing is that the thumb might be in the wrong position. It may be too far back and it might be too far forward, right? And both of those things cause squeezing. Too far back sort of feels like that, squeezing. And too far forward creates, engages this muscle here and this muscle here in an unfortunate way, right? It tightens up the middle of the hand. So how to get it right is to just have a look at your hand very, very naturally, and that's where your thumb should really go. Not unnaturally further back or further forward, just where it actually lands in your hand, like that, right? So really, if your thumb is parallel to your hand, that's the natural place. That's unnatural, and that's... The position of the thumb should really enable the fingers to move freely, right? So if your thumb is in the wrong place and you can't really, you feel your fingers are very rigid, look at your thumb. It's probably holding you back. So as you can see, everything is very interconnected on the left-hand side. And hopefully you'll be able to have a look at any area that's causing you pain or discomfort and find a way to release it through some quite simple measures, but you do have to be aware of it first. So have a look at your own left side and see if there's things that you could improve. So good luck with that, and I'll say bye-bye for now. Bye.